Hi guys, this is Lauren from Lauren Watkins Art, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the art supplies I took with me on my latest trip where I was biking and hiking and driving all over. And I also wanted to share with you some of the sketches I did while I was on my trip. So to start off, I took my Koi watercolor pocket-filled sketch box with me, and I've done a review on this in the past, and so I took this with me. I also took 2 water brush pens. I brought the Secure Koi one. That one has kind of a number 4 or 6 tip on it. So that was good for bigger washes in my sketchbook. And then I brought my Pentel water brush pen. And that one has, I brought the one with about a number 2 tip on it. That way I could get a little bit more detail. I also brought with me a mechanical pencil. I like mechanical pencils if I'm not going to be doing very many like just pencil drawings, if I'm planning on doing something like watercolor, because it's a hard pencil so it doesn't smear as much. It's got a good eraser. I don't have to bring a pencil sharpener with me, and I always have a fine point and I can just click it and go. So if I'm not going to be doing a lot of pencil sketching, I just need something to do basic outlines with. Just a generic mechanical pencil will do the job great. I also brought with me my Sharpie fine point pen. This one's kind of worn down now that I've used it so much, but this works great. I don't need anything that's archival like a micron. I just want something that I can do a little bit of pen and ink detailing, since I'm going to be painting really fast, and so it's nice to do kind of pen and ink washes. So I brought that with me, and then I brought my handbook sketchbook with me. It's nice because it kind of has this elastic that holds it shut. I brought this on with me on other vacations, but this trip, let me turn to it, was my first trip that I painted things that I did while I was on vacation, not just random things I saw or like random reference photos I looked up. I was actually painting things specifically that we saw and did while on our trip. I decided to treat this vacation sketches more like a journal, and I left the back pages empty, as you can see over here. I just wrote a little blip of what we were doing when I drew the picture, or when the picture was taken and I went back and painted it. Probably later this week I'm going to sit down and kind of journal about what we did on our trip. So this first picture is of a mountain scene with a mountain with some snow on it and some kind of yellowy grass in the field. And I drew this on our way out of town. If you don't know, I live in Montana, and when we were heading out, there wasn't very much greenery. The only green things were really the evergreen trees, and there was still snow on all the mountains, and the grass was still pretty dead. So that's why I painted this. And then I didn't paint anything from Idaho or the northern part of Utah. My kids were giving me a run for my money while we were going down. My husband was driving, but when we hit more southern central Utah, my kids started coming down, and as we were just about 3 hours out of Moab, I painted this little scene. If you haven't been there, it's very dry. There's not much foliage going on, and everything looks like it's been bleached out by the sun. It's not the vibrant colors that you see in Moab, but I drew that as a way to document it. And then we go into my first sketch while in Moab. This is this is a scene on our way back from hiking Grandstaff and biking, and you can see the Colorado River here, the bike path next to the road, up the canyon, and the beautiful red rocks in Moab. Then we go on to Canyonlands National Park. This picture, I got a little too heavy-handed with my shadows, but every day during quiet time, we would take a break from hiking and biking and hop in the car, and my kids would nap and kind of cool off, and my husband and I would take scenic drives through the national parks or scenic highways. And so this is one of those scenic drives we took through Canyonlands National Park. You can see the beautiful canyons in the distance. And then here's a sketch on our bike of us biking back to our campground. We were camping right along the Colorado River. This is by Moab Rim, if you're familiar with the area, and the beautiful canyon rocks. I've been to Moab numerous times. It's one of my favorite places on earth, and so it's really fun to take my kids there and let them really get to enjoy that experience. And so you can see them. This is a really rough sketch of them kind of in the bucket bike and my husband biking in front of us, and our little shader there to keep them cooled off and out of the sun. And then another quiet time activity, we drove out to Fisher Towers and painted and drove around, saw it. We walked around for a little bit when my kids woke up and just enjoyed ourselves. Moab was really a fun area to paint in because you can do so many fun colors and just really get to use that all the colors in your palette that you don't always get to do when you're doing landscape. So it was really fun to play off the colors I saw while in Moab. This is from our campground. This is it's kind of washed out a little bit in the light, but in where we were camping at, in the evening you get this beautiful golden glow that would hit the tops of the rocks in the distance, and then you'd get everything else would kind of be blue and shadows. And so I really wanted to paint that at least one night while we were out camping. And these sketches are really rough. If you've seen my other work, I do really rendered down pieces, but I wanted just to do quick sketches. Everything, I don't think a single painting took more than 5-10 minutes. It was just kind of lay it out there and sketch it because my kids are running around or we're in the car driving while I'm painting, and I just kind of snatched little moments while I could to paint. So this was a beautiful spot to camp. I loved it. And then one of the days we were down in Moab, we decided to road trip over to Grand Junction, which is a couple hours away. So this is my sketch from Grand Junction. This one's really rough. I did it in the car and I was losing light, and so it's probably my least favorite out of the ones I did on this trip. But it kind of gets the idea across of what Grand Junction looks like. There's a valley, there's some red plateaus in the distance. But it was such a fun trip. It was fun getting out and kind of breaking the routine, and it was nice getting some sunshine. If you're not familiar with Montana, we get a lot of snow. We had a record-breaking year for the area I'm in, and we got about 200 inches of snow this year and negative 40-degree weather, and it was just cold. And so 80-degree weather and sunshine was just what we needed to kind of power through while we waited for spring to hit Montana. On our way back from Grand Junction, it was kind of the in-between space between Grand Junction and Moab. We got to see the plateaus that are usually kind of washed out and boring. We got to see them in the morning light where the shadows and the sunrise were hitting it in really interesting lights. All the shadows looked very blue and purple, and the rocks were kind of taken on this, and the highlighted areas were taken on the morning glow of sunrise. And it was really fun to see that because in the afternoon light it looks pretty washed out and boring, but in the sunrise or sunset lighting, since it's so pale in color, the sand and the dirt and rocks, that it really absorbs the color of the sunset. So if you've got a really pink sunset, these plateaus are going to look really pink. We had a really golden sunrise, and so it really brought out the yellow, and the rocks really brought out the yellow and the gold in the lighting. And then it let me play with kind of opposite colors and do the blues and the shadows. On our way back, we stopped and saw my family. Now this is a really rough sketch. I did this one at the park while my kids were playing. But these are the mountains that I grew up next to along the Wasatch Front. And they just put a new park in the town I grew up in, and so we were playing at the park and just enjoying springtime while we were gone. All the trees got green leaves on them, and it was just a really fun experience to do that. You can see a lot of my paintings, what I would do was I would do the color first and then go back over with the pen and ink to do the detailing. So I just draw it out quickly, the basic shapes with my pencil, do a wash, and then do my marker over the top. And sometimes I would go back and forth between the marker, the pen detailing, and then washes, and I'd kind of do several rounds of that to get it to where I was satisfied. And then the next day, I was able to get reunited with my best friends from high school and elementary school. A lot of us have known each other since preschool and kindergarten, but we were able to kind of get together for the first time in a few years up in Park City and just kind of get back together, reconnect, laugh like we've never been apart, and just have fun. So I painted a little scene from Park City. You can see the snow still a little bit in the mountains in the distance, and the grass is just turning green. Since it's a higher elevation, the trees haven't quite turned green yet. Not many of them have leaves. Then after the Park City trip, we started heading back home. On our way home, we have to go through Yellowstone National Park and in that region, and we came across quite a few bison on our way. We didn't actually go through Yellowstone National Park. We went around it, but there were still quite a few bison along the way, so we stopped and saw them. Now, it's been a record-breaking year in that area too, and so the bison were pretty skinny, kind of raggedy as they're losing their winter fur and just trying to find things to eat. And then as we moved on, this is on the canyon between Yellowstone National Park and Big Sky. I did this sketch really quick while my kids were running around getting their wiggles out. But there was still snow in the distance. There was a little stream that was starting to trickle down. Things were starting to kind of give hints of green, and so I just painted that up quick. And then one of my favorite things about the drive through Yellowstone on your way to the Bozeman area is you get these big green tree-filled mountains, and then you get these big rocks just jutting out. And so I wanted to paint one of those scenes quick of just these big kind of yellowy orange rocks that are popping out of the side of the mountain. So I painted that just really quick. I didn't need these to be picture perfect because I could have taken a picture with my phone. I just wanted to kind of paint something that was personal to me and remember it in a way other than taking a picture. And I apologize if these are a little washed out. My lighting's a little bright. So some of the more subtle colors, like the blue in the sky, are a little bit washed out by the lighting. But there's this piece, and then my last painting on the way home is just leaving Bozeman. It's in between Bozeman and where I live. And while we were gone, all the grass had started to turn green, and it was so bright. And we came in after a thunderstorm, so you can see it's a little bit more gray. You can't really see it on the camera as well, but it was gray where we were at, and then the sun and blue sky in the distance just shining a light on that green grass, letting us know that springtime was coming and winter was not going to last forever. And so this was my last painting of the trip a couple hours before I got home. And it was so fun to paint like this while on vacation, to treat this like a journal instead of just a sketchbook where you just paint random things. And I'm excited to go back through and write details of what was going on, what funny things my kids did in the car. I wrote some of them down in my phone as they happened if I didn't have my sketchbook with me. And I'm going to go back through and add a lot more details if I didn't think I would remember kind of what was going on. So I'm excited to kind of make my sketchbook a little bit more personal, and I found that having it be a little bit more personal to what I was doing made me more prone to sketch while on vacation and be excited to do it, instead of it just being like, oh, I need to reach my goal and sketch a picture every other day. It didn't feel like that. This was the most regularly that I've sketched in a sketchbook. So I hope you enjoyed this little sketchbook tour and kind of getting a glimpse of what I brought with me. Just a recap, my koi watercolor box, 2 paintbrushes, and a mechanical pencil and a Sharpie. It's pretty compact, fit great in my backpack. I think next time I go, I'm going to try and get like a little tin, like an Altoids tin, and get a few extra half pans and just have it just be a little bit more compact. That way it's a little bit easier to carry with me if I'm using my smaller backpack, especially if I'm going without my kids and I don't need to haul as many extra supplies, extra snacks, things like that. If it's just gonna be me and my husband, I'd like to have a slightly smaller setup. So I think I'm going to hunt down an Altoids container and dig out some extra half pans to create that. But this setup worked really good, especially if you're not super tight on space, or you want to sit down and be able to render more refined pictures. This gave a really good variety. But I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you would like to see more of what I'm creating, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you will stay updated on what I'm doing, what I'm creating. You'll get my latest tutorials, and I just hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye.